Hello my Patreon friends! I am very sorry that this video has been extremely slow to come out. I've been running around against the clock to deliver commissions and it's left me with very little to no time to dedicate to decent editing like right now, so please accept my apologies. I've got a really nice treat for you guys. I'm constantly asked about how I get my skin tone on the figures that I paint, and I'm here to share all my secrets behind how I get them to look so nice. I've had the luck of working with 3 different figures that require different skin colors, from pale to tanned, so I took the opportunity and filmed the whole process for you guys to see. First off, I have Fu from Samurai Champloo. Fu has pale, kinda dirty-ish skin, but I'm giving her something that fits her well. Now, I predominantly use acrylic paints for skin tones, but you can use whatever type of paint as long as you can get washes that are compatible with them, as you will be using them with this type of method that I particularly use. I use craft paints that are water-based, and most of the washes that I have are water-based as well, so they work wonders for me. I like Americana brand more than Folk Art or any other brand out there because I like the consistency and the pigments. So for my base tone, I will use a color called Natural Buff. This is like a really light skin tone-ish color. So I spray on light layers until it reaches the desired coverage. Let it dry and then continue with light layers. Next, I will take my skin color wash and add a drop to the paint. Mix well and then apply to the areas where the light makes natural shadows. Once dried, I make sure to seal it with a matte finish. My preferred sealer is Testors Dull Coat. Alright, for normal skin tone, I usually pre-mix large batches because I constantly use them throughout the week, but you can mix smaller amounts. Again, I use Natural Buff for my base tone. For my main tone, I use Americana's skin tone color, and for shadings, I will mix it with a particular wash. So again, I cover all my pieces with light layers. I usually do 2 or 3 depending if I need to cover more areas, for example where there was putty treatment below the surface. The key here is to be patient. Don't try and get full coverage on the first layer. Since this is a water-based paint, pigments are not as strong as specialized hobby paints. So until the layer dries, apply the next one. You can use a hairdryer if you want to speed things up, though I don't recommend it very much because it might make the paint run. So be careful when using it. Next, I apply my main tone, which is the basic skin tone color I mentioned earlier. Since I already have my base color, I will need to apply just 2 light layers of this color, as it doesn't really need more. If you go overboard, the color might look too pinkish, so count your layers. Now this is the pièce de résistance in the process. I take the main skin tone color and apply a drop or 2 maximum of skin tone wash from Vallejo. This will be your shading tone. Also note that being that this is a water-based paint, you need to use water to thin it. It's tricky to be able to get the right consistency, as this paint will not exactly work if you thin it down to a milk consistency. It needs to be a bit thicker than that, so do a 1 to 1.5 ratio of water when thinning. If the paint is too runny out of the bottle, then do just 1-to-1 thinning. You will need to be very careful when applying this color, as adding too little will barely show and adding a layer too much will look like the skin got burnt. So apply in very light layers to the areas where you want to shade until it dries, if you like it. If not, add another layer. Remember that I do have diagrams on my official website that will guide you on where exactly highlights and shadings go on a human body. I already memorized them, so I don't really need them at this point, but it's good to have them close to you if you're just starting to get the hang of this. Once done, again, this is very important, seal your paint. On to the tan skin. Echidna has a light tan color, unlike most elves. So I'm going to give her that light tone, mixing in colors from scratch. I used the skin tone recipe also on my official website and played with it until I got the desired tone. For the base color, I used the Natural Buff with a drop of the regular skin tone wash I mentioned earlier. Once covered and dried completely, I mixed white, yellow, brown, and red together to get my main color. I used the amounts in the recipes as instructed. Then for the shadings, I had to play a little bit with each color, making sure to count the amount of drops I used each time I added more to the mix. So my final combination was the following: 6 millimeters of white, 15 drops of red, 40 drops of brown, 15 drops of yellow, and 1 drop of black. As I said, you can play around with the colors. If you think it's kind of pale, you have the option of adding a little bit of black, but don't go overboard because more black will mess up the recipe. Finally, at the end, if your skin tone is a bit pale, you have the option to use a light layer of either clear brown or clear red over the entire skin area. It does make a huge difference, as you can appreciate here. Unless pale is your goal, then just leave it as is. It is recommended that before you apply the colors, always test on a scrap piece of resin that you might have. If not, you can use plastic spoons covered with primer. This way you can appreciate the tone before you apply them to your figure. Which, by the way, I have a hilarious story about spoons, so I'll make sure to put that out soon. And then, like the other two, seal it when you're done. Here you can clearly appreciate the different skin tones for each figure, from the pale color for Samurai Champloo's Fu to the light tan color for Queen's Blade Echidna. Now here's the fun part: pastel shadings. I've already given a tutorial on pastels before, but I'm gonna go through it again. I recommend that if you want to get a good chalk pigment, you invest on some brand pastels. I used to work with some generic ones, but it didn't give me good results. So my choice right now is Faber-Castell. I tend to mix the skin tone color it includes along with brown and a little bit of mustard for the pale skin tone that I did for food. I recommend you get a variety of small and fine brushes to be able to apply the chalk powder onto the surface. That way you can apply it only in the areas where you want it to stand out more. For the regular skin tone shadings, I also pre-mix pastels, but to make it, I use the skin tone color with terracotta and white. The amounts are completely up to you, but I like to use 1 part white, 2 parts terracotta, and 3 parts skin tone. If you want a bit more pinkish shade, you can add a little bit of red to the mixture, and then just dab the powder onto the surface. Blow excess away. Just be extremely careful you don't get any spit on the surface, so blow softly. For the tan skin, this is actually pretty easy as my package came with a dark brown color, but you can also mix regular brown, a little bit of black, and a little bit of red if you desire. Once you're done shading, the final step again is to seal with a matte varnish. Let it dry for at least a day for it to fully cure. After that, you may mask your piece if your part has another area that you need to paint. This way, you will avoid the risk of paint stripping. I hope you did enjoy getting to know my trade secrets on skin tone. If there's another topic you would like me to cover that I haven't covered yet, or very little on my regular videos, please let me know. Until next time, see you on Patreon.